Berlin, Federal Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil, SPD, underscored that strengthening Germany's competitiveness and innovative strength remains the coalition government's most pressing task. Speaking after a closed-door cabinet meeting at Villa Borsig in Berlin, Klingbeil stressed that the government must move faster on key reforms to deliver growth, jobs and modernization. Klingbeil opened his remarks by framing the issue as the central focus of the government's work. Lars Klingbeil said, "We have placed the questions of competitiveness at the centre of this closed meeting, the question of how we can increase innovation in this country, how we can secure economic strength, growth and jobs here in this country. This is the major task facing this government and something we have been working on intensively in the first few months." He noted that progress has been made since the coalition came to power, but warned that complacency was not an option. Klingbeil added, "But we are far from sitting back complacently. We are saying there is still much to do, and we must also speed up the pace on many things." The finance minister aligned himself with Chancellor Olaf Scholz's push for modernization. Klingbeil emphasized, and I want to explicitly underline what the Chancellor said. This modernization agenda is a very important component of what we have set out to do as a cabinet. Klingbeil described the cabinet's collective stance as one focused on making life easier for citizens and businesses. He explained, "It's about a stance. It's about a stance that was felt across the entire table, that we want to simplify our country, that we want to make it easier for companies and citizens, for example, to start a business, run an association or build a house in this country." He admitted that for too long, many such processes in Germany have been unnecessarily burdensome. Klingbeil said, "Many of these things are no longer fun at all. And that's why we decided, and that was the common spirit at the cabinet table, to change that." The Vice-Chancellor acknowledged that delivering on this vision will require more decisive action across various sectors, from housing and infrastructure to digital services. His remarks echoed a growing consensus among Germany's policymakers that excessive bureaucracy and slow procedures have held back the country's economic dynamism. Throughout the press interaction, Klingbeil returned repeatedly to the theme of competitiveness. He described innovation as a linchpin for Germany's long-term prosperity and warned that delays in implementing reforms could jeopardize growth. He pointed to bottlenecks in areas like housing construction as emblematic of the need for faster action. While Germany's economy remains robust by international standards, it has faced mounting challenges in recent years, including sluggish growth, high energy costs, and demographic pressures on the workforce. Klingbeil's emphasis on innovation was consistent with broader coalition efforts to boost research, support emerging technologies, and encourage investment in new industries. Yet he was candid in admitting that the pace of progress so far has been too slow. The finance minister took pains to highlight what he called a shared spirit within the cabinet. He said the meeting underscored a collective commitment to reforms that reduce red tape, encourage entrepreneurship, and enable more efficient delivery of services. In his view, this sense of unity was essential for Germany to confront both domestic and international challenges. Global economic competition, he argued, demands not only sound fiscal management, but also a willingness to adapt quickly and embrace innovation. Klingbeil's remarks were also a signal to both domestic audiences and international partners that the German government is determined to remain competitive in an increasingly interconnected global economy. Although much of the statement focused on competitiveness and modernization, Klingbeil also implied that reforms must serve citizens broadly, not just businesses. By simplifying processes for starting businesses, running associations and building homes, he suggested, the government would help unlock opportunities for ordinary people as well as for investors. The finance minister's comments reflected the coalition's ongoing balancing act, pursuing reforms that stimulate growth while maintaining social cohesion and fairness. Klingbeil's central message throughout the press interaction was the need for speed. He reiterated that while the government has laid out an ambitious modernization agenda, it cannot afford to lose momentum. He stressed the pace must be increased. This succinct line, repeated from his earlier public statements, encapsulated the sense of urgency felt within the coalition as it confronts domestic and global challenges, from energy transitions and housing shortages to competition with other advanced economies. Germany's debate over competitiveness has been sharpened by recent geopolitical and economic shifts. The energy crisis following Russia's war in Ukraine, supply chain disruptions, and growing competition from the United States and China have forced Berlin to reassess its economic policies. In this context, Klingbeil's call for faster reforms was not merely a domestic message, but part of a broader strategic conversation about Germany's role in Europe and the world economy. His remarks also carried a political dimension, with coalition partners and opposition parties often at odds over fiscal and regulatory policies. Klingbeil's emphasis on unity and urgency was meant to rally support for a pragmatic, forward-looking agenda. The Berlin cabinet meeting at Villa Borsig appeared to serve as a checkpoint for the government's modernization drive. By centering the discussion on competitiveness, the coalition signalled its intention to prioritise reforms that directly affect economic growth and job creation. Klingbeil's public statements suggested that the government is aware of public frustration with bureaucracy and slow-moving reforms and intends to respond with concrete steps. As Germany grapples with the twin challenges of sustaining economic strength and navigating global uncertainties, Klingbeil's words served as both a progress report and a call to action. We must increase the pace, he repeated, underlining that the success of the coalition's agenda hinges on faster, more decisive implementation.
Wir haben in den Mittelpunkt dieser Klausur gestellt die Fragen von Wettbewerbsfähigkeit, die Frage, wie wir Innovationskraft in diesem Land steigern können, wie wir die wirtschaftliche Stärke, das Wachstum und die Arbeitsplätze hier in diesem Land sichern können. Das ist die große Aufgabe, die diese Regierung hat, woran wir in den ersten Monaten mit Hochdruck gearbeitet haben. Aber wir sind weit davon entfernt, uns zufrieden zurückzulehnen, sondern sagen, es gibt noch vieles zu tun und wir müssen auch das Tempo bei vielen Dingen erhöhen. Und ich will das ausdrücklich unterstreichen, was der Bundeskanzler gesagt hat. Diese Modernisierungsagenda ist ein ganz wichtiger Bestandteil dessen, was wir uns als Kabinett vorgenommen haben. Es geht da um eine Haltung. Es geht um eine Haltung, die man am ganzen Tisch gespürt hat, dass wir unser Land einfacher machen wollen, dass wir es Unternehmen und Bürgerinnen und Bürgern leichter machen wollen, in diesem Land beispielsweise ein Unternehmen zu gründen, einen Verein zu führen, ein Haus zu bauen. Vieles davon macht ja gar keinen Spaß mehr und deswegen haben wir uns, und das war der gemeinsame Geist am Kabinettstisch, haben wir uns vorgenommen, das zu verändern.